Now I invite Mr. Robert Watkins, UN Resident Coordinator, for his joint statement on behalf of the UN system. Please, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's wonderful to be here again in Switzerland. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, colleagues, I'm pleased to read this statement on behalf of the UN system, and in particular, the UN agencies, funds, and programs that are working in support of regions, countries, and communities to reduce disaster risk and build resilience under the Hyogo Framework for Action and the International Strategy for Disaster Reduction. Reducing disaster risk in the context of sustainable development is an institutional priority for the United Nations. Currently, 60% of UN organizations identify disaster risk reduction as a priority, and in some cases, a mandatory engagement. Through its principal coordination body, the Chief Executives Board, the UN has defined a set of parameters that will be guiding its work and ensuring significant coherence in its support for countries. The UN Plan of Action on Disaster Risk Reduction for Resilience, endorsed by the executive heads of 29 UN entities in April 2013, enables the UN to approach the discussions regarding the post-2015 development agenda with a common view. Recognizing the close interdependence between development and disaster risk reduction, UN organizations will work together to ensure disaster risk reduction is a key component of the post-2015 development agenda, supported by a post-2015 framework for disaster risk reduction. The UN Plan of Action is about the United Nations working together with governments, the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies, as well as other partners, to promote, amongst other things, common methodologies on risk assessment and to ensure sectoral development planning addresses the imperative of reducing disaster risk. It also provides the mechanisms through which the UN will be strengthening its own accountability to its constituency through the governance bodies. It will provide regular updates on its work and progress in integrating disaster risk across its development and humanitarian work. Since the third session of the Global Platform in 2011, the UN and its member agencies have collaborated with government, civil society, and other partners to establish national mechanisms for coordination of disaster risk. These efforts include boosting capacity for reducing disaster risk and building resilience across a wide spectrum of activities, such as national loss databases, early warning systems, safer hospitals and schools, drought-resilient agriculture, and education programs. Through its sectoral expertise in health, education, agriculture, water, and the environment, the UN is able to work directly with sectoral ministries and partners. Through its networks and institutions that are assisting countries with specialized know-how, the UN is adapting its support to local needs and contexts. Examples of expertise available in UN institutions working to address disaster risk reduction include science and research, governance, capacity building, employment generation, preparedness for response, including to nuclear and radiological incidents, information and communication technologies, climate and weather services, urban resilience, tourism, volunteerism, migration, remote sensing and risk-proof civil works, and physical infrastructure development, to name but a few of the main ones. Encouragingly, of the 56 countries that have initiated development assistance frameworks with UN support in recent years, what we refer to as UNDAFs, over 50 have identified disaster risk integrated with climate risk as a development concern. In each of these countries, the UN has joint programs and activities to address disaster and climate risk as part of sustainable development work. The UN has also contributed to efforts by countries affected by disasters to ensure that recovery efforts embrace a better back Building Back Better approach. Since 2011, 10 multi-sector recovery damage and needs assessments carried out by countries with UN support integrated the needs related to reducing disaster risk in the recovery. Accelerating the implementation of these development plans in a coherent manner and to requisite standards with governments to the UN resident coordinator system in the spirit of delivering as one is the task that the United Nations has set for itself. These efforts will benefit from improved documenting and sharing of results and examples of effective models of cooperation. Intergovernmental mechanisms, such as the multilateral environment agreements, and in particular, the conventions dealing with desertification, climate change, and biodiversity, along with regional frameworks on disaster risk reduction, led by regional intergovernmental organizations with UN support, have also demonstrated their effectiveness in assisting countries address disaster risk. The work of the UN adheres to its founding principles of human rights, the dignity and words of the human person, the equal rights of women, men, girls, and boys, and of nations large and small. The UN, working closely with the IFRC and the Red Cross, Red Crescent societies, is in a unique position to assist countries and communities address disaster risk and build resilience. In a fast-changing world with changing risk scenarios, there is a real urgency to prioritize and scale up risk reduction activities. The UN is demonstrating with its new plan of action on disaster risk reduction for resilience, once again, its commitment to accelerate its assistance to government-led efforts to reduce disaster risk and implement the Hyogo Framework for Action, leading up to 2015 and beyond in a coherent, effective, and sustainable manner. Thank you all very much.